Welcome back, all you Regs and all you Shinies. Welcome to the 1313 podcast. This is the podcast, the most mediocre podcast in the Star Wars universe. I'm Tommy.
I'm Jackson.
I'm Jacob.
And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the podcast. How's everybody doing this week?
Doing pretty good, I'd say. Excited for more Andor.
I'm sick. So I'm just here to say hi, and then I'm leaving you guys because I don't want you to guys hear me coughing, wheezing, and sneezing
Then
the
leave.
entire episode. So this is my cameo.
Very nice.
Damn.
And now he leaves us. Goodbye.
Goodbye, friend.
Hello. Goodbye. All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the podcast. It is just myself and Jackson. It has been
Just the two of us.
We can make it if we try. Just the two of us. Yes, dude. Dude, it's been just about, actually, it was about this time last year since the last time it was just you and I on a podcast.
That's kind of fair.
Yeah.
That's weird to think about.
It is. But yes, everybody, before we get into the episode, I just want to say, if you are not yet subscribed to the 1313 Podcast YouTube channel, make sure you do so, because we are trying to reach 1,000 subscribers. We've been growing rapidly, and we want to continue that growth, so join the 1313 family.
We'll be more entertaining, we promise.
Yes. Feel free to follow us on social media on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, all linked in the description below. You can also join our Discord. We actually just revamped our Discord today, organized some stuff. So make sure to get in there. We have ways to get into, if you were looking to get into costuming, collecting, whether it's Legos, action figures, hot toys, whatever you prefer. Star Wars games. We're always playing Battlefront on Xbox. Actually, I just played last night with Laytendi in the Discord. Shout out Hunter Schultz. We played some Galactic Assault, and dude, I was like really tired. I said, this is going to be my last game of the night. What do we get? Geonosis. I'm like, man, what if it'd be nice if we got the clones. Guess what? We got the clones.
Hey.
So we got to play, and we got to both be in ATRTs, absolutely yucking it up in the dust storm. And then like Anakin and Obi-Wan come running by together, like both of them. And I was like just having a little nerdgasm. I was losing my mind. It was a lot of fun. But yeah, if you want to get involved with like the gaming and stuff like that too, make sure to join our Discord. Additionally, if you want to go above and beyond and support us on Patreon, you can do that as well. We have 3 different tiers to our Patreon. We have our Clone Trooper tier, which offers you just a few dollars a month, if you wouldn't mind. And then we have our Grand Admiral tier. And in the Gungan Boss tier, in the top 2 tiers, you do get in a special little Discord channel called Otogunga. That we have in our Discord where you can talk to just us, a little more one-on-one.
It's very nice.
We also do monthly giveaways on that Gungan Boss tier. So with that, we just gave away to shout out Fig Fury. Congratulations to Fig Fury for winning the Obi-Wan Starfighter Lego set. I'm getting ready to ship that out as of tomorrow. So that'll be exciting stuff. But we have some exciting giveaways planned in the future. So yes, join the Patreon. And then we also have merch linked in the description below as well. But with all of my lip flapping out of the way.
When Jacob does it, it doesn't take 5 minutes.
No, it doesn't take 5 minutes. But I like
just looked at that.
I'm a bit long-winded.
That's fine. That's fine.
You know? Yeah, but I do. I like to give you a little bit of an explanation as to
you're
what we're
fine,
doing.
you're fine.
This may be your first time listening to or watching the podcast. But yes, Jackson.
All right.
Just a little icebreaker here before
Okay,
we have a few things to talk about this week, but you know, I'm just I'm tired, Jackson. I'm tired.
Aren't we all?
I'm generally tired, but also on top of that, I'm tired of Walmart.
That is true.
Tired of Walmart. So yesterday, as of recording this, the Clone Wars 20th anniversary got shown off by Hasbro at Hasbro PulseCon last weekend, and that's super exciting. I'm stoked that they're going to be doing they're doing that Phase 2 Clone Trooper helmet, and we actually did a video on our YouTube channel advertising all the stuff that we were excited to hopefully see. And I thought that all these these obscure Clone Troopers and stuff, I thought this was all way out of reach. And then Walmart at their Collector Con yesterday revealed a vintage collection ARC Trooper Commander Havoc, who showed up in 2 episodes of the Clone Wars and died in those 2 episodes.
Hopefully the Blacksters get some love on that too. That's what I'm hoping. You went right off the rip with an ARC Trooper in the TVC for the Clone Wars.
And an obscure one at that.
Yes, so I was like, obscure character? right into the Clone Wars and not even Attack of the Clones or anything like that. So I was like,
Yes.
okay, Black Series, please.
But so they announced that it would be coming out today at 10 a.m. to go up for pre-order. And in classic Walmart fashion, I jump on my phone at 10 o'clock. I have it ready. And almost an hour went by before the ARC Trooper finally showed up. And I don't understand how you as a company, when you advertise, this will be the day and time that this thing comes out online, how it takes almost another hour for it to actually show up.
Just got to praise the Yak for the links.
Praise the Yak.
All you got to do.
Shout out to Yak. He was liking my comments on all the posts because I was I was commenting like my reactions to everything. But yeah, it's...
That's how it's kind of been consistently, though, is that like a figure will release and then an hour later it goes up. Like GameStop will always do that. And I feel like that's when it's just processing into the system and there's nothing they can really do about it. I guess it's just learning from there. But I mean, as of shooting this, all these figures are still available too.
Yeah, that's awesome though. That's really good.
Because I know I had a lab that started at 2 and it had to have been maybe 1:30-ish that Yak ended up posting that Target got that clone trooper with the skeleton.
Out of nowhere.
Yeah, just out of nowhere. I didn't think that was releasing like at all today. So I was like, whoa. Immediately got on that and then tried contacting Tommy and my dad to like get on it too. And I put... Shout out to the Discord again, because now we have a section to put the pre-order links if you can get them or you find them.
Yeah.
So I threw the link in the Discord as well right after I did all that. But a lot of people are still able to get in. Like I said, they're still up. So hopefully by the time this video goes up, they're still there if you want to get them.
Yeah, I think the holiday figures will. Just because a lot of the community was not happy about those reveals.
And I'm fine with that. That's more for us.
Yeah.
I like the holiday figures as like a nice little like gimmick for the stuff. Although, unfortunately, as at least StarWars.com said, they won't come out until November, which kind of sucks.
That was StarWars.com saying that the figures would become available for pre-order on November 1st. I don't understand how there's so much miscommunication between the retailers and Star Wars and Hasbro. I don't get it.
It is what it is.
Just let Hasbro do their thing, man. I hate all the contracts and all that business.
But at least we got it.
Yeah. So that was my headache today, was sitting for almost an hour waiting for that damn figure to come out. Yeah. But
we got some new good stuff to talk about.
Let's talk about some Star Wars.
Some good stuff.
So,
Tales
first
of the
item on the
Jedi.
list. Tales of the Jedi poster. Yes. So yesterday or sometime this week, there was a poster that came out for the Tales of the Jedi. And it's kind of like a character poster. You know, your classic. You got the logo of the show surrounded by all the faces of all the characters. And did you see Tara Sinube?
I did, actually. That was really interesting because I was looking through because I know you could see Rex, the people from Ahsoka's village, the young Count Dooku, like Mace and whatnot. And I did see Tara Sinube, and I was like, that's someone we didn't see in a trailer at all.
So I have a question for you then.
Okay.
Seeing Tara Sinube, and after we've seen him in Obi-Wan Kenobi, when in the timeline of the Ahsoka episodes do you think this is? Do you think this is first, second, or third episode of the Ahsoka arc?
I think it's going to be the very beginning when she's training, just because he doesn't look like how he does in the Clone Wars exactly with his longer hair.
Got it.
It was a lot shorter from what I recall in the poster, so I think that's going to be a younger version of him, and they might just bump it to him in the temple, and he might show Ahsoka some pointers, and we might see like why people roll their eyes at him to begin with, besides Obi-Wan in the arc that we get of the Clone Wars.
Yeah, I'm actually pulling it up right now so that we can take a closer look at it.
You can analyze it on scene.
He's got... Where is he?
He's at the top right, I thought.
Let's take a look here.
Yeah,
there he is. No, there he is right there.
Oh,
yeah, so that's him.
Oh, I'm an idiot. No, I thought you were talking about the dude with the braids.
I hope...
That's an L. No.
I hope that Tara Sinube shows up in the second episode where it's during the Clone Wars. I really hope that we don't have to watch him die.
No, yeah, that would be awful.
At the hands of an Inquisitor, but I have a feeling...
You know who I mean, though, right? Who I was thinking, the dude with, like, the braids and whatnot, who does the arc with Obi-Wan to fight
Quinlan Vos?
I thought you were talking about Quinlan Vos.
Quinlan Vos, no.
That's a major L on my part. Sorry about that, y'all. But no. Okay, I remember who Tara Sinube is. My fault, G.
No, you good. But, dude, I really hope that they don't have us watch him perish to an Inquisitor, because
That
that's
would be
how he would die.
unfortunate.
He would die to an Inquisitor because he's in the collection in the Inquisitorius.
That would be okay. Although that would be sad, that would be cool to know.
How his story
Yeah.
ended. I think that he would probably die saving someone. I wouldn't see him being someone who would die cowardly, you know? Because he was what, in my opinion, an example of what the Jedi Order should have been. Rather than the politicking and all this stuff with the Jedi. But we also see Bail Organa's on the poster.
Yeah, that was interesting
So
too.
I wonder how he fits in. I'm assuming that's also going to be in the Ahsoka arc, rather than the Dooku arc.
I would, because I mean, a lot of at least the recognizable characters like that will definitely be in the Ahsoka arc because they fit that part of the timeline.
But yeah, I'm excited to see these characters and the Yaddle thing. The Yaddle thing is interesting, and again, we've already seen in the trailers that she fights Count Dooku, a young Count Dooku.
Oh.
So I am interested to see what happens with that. I think we're going to see how Yaddle dies.
That would be interesting to at least get a wrap up of why Yaddle is never in Star Wars again besides the Phantom Menace on the Jedi Council.
Yeah. I think she might honestly figure out Dooku. I think that's what happens is she figures it out and Dooku has to kill her.
Yaddle wouldn't die because this is pre-Phantom Menace and she's still on the Jedi Council in the Phantom Menace.
I'll hit you with this question.
Oh my gosh, okay.
Who is to say that all 3 episodes of the Dooku arc happened before Attack of the Clones?
That is true. They could
or Phantom Menace, I mean to say. You know, what if this third one is... Because there's a 10-year gap between... roughly, between Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones. So, I mean, there's plenty of time for you to have Dooku on Coruscant in that little hideaway in that industrial district with Palpatine, and then Yaddle finds out.
That is true.
Just saying.
That is an idea. You know? I'll admit it. So, they'll definitely throw some curveballs at us, so I'm excited for that anyway.
I am, yeah, but I'm super excited for the show. The character poster has me really excited. They have that Inquisitor on there too, and a couple other characters. Mullet Obi-Wan. Yeah. Mullet Obi-Wan. So this is obviously very early on in the Clone Wars. Yes. But yes, aside from that, that's all I have on that one. Additionally, this one is just a quick one, so I kind of want to get it out of the way. Okay. Star Wars announced the High Republic Phase 2 coming in. I'm excited about the High Republic as an era. I just want to see it on screen.
Yeah, I feel like that's what we've been saying for a while, so hopefully we see it adapted eventually.
Yeah. I do want to get into the comic run. That way I can kind of be a part of what's going on, because the novels I just can't keep up with. I bought Light of the Jedi when it first came out. My father read it. I don't even think he got all the way through it. He said it was a good book, but not a great book, you know?
That's fair. Fair. They have a manga. It's pretty interesting. I read it.
Oh, yeah.
I think they already have the second issue out, and they might have more, but it's actually pretty decent.
That's good. Yeah, but that's High Republic. I mean, you know, we used to be a lot more excited about the High Republic than we are now.
Just not just because they're not giving us, like, I guess in my opinion, easily digestible content, because it's just in the form of a book.
Right.
You know, and not everyone has that much time. I mean, like, I don't know. There's certainly that, like, niche group of people who are going to, like, only read the books because the books are, like, for them. But for us, at least, in what we have going on, I feel like a book isn't, like, a decent option.
Right.
So hopefully, like I've been saying, they'll give us some sort of video adaptation in the form of a movie or a show. That would be a great idea for the next movie.
Woo! Well, maybe. Acolyte is going to be not High Republic, but...
Yeah. Pre-High Republic.
Well, post-High Republic.
Oh, no, you're right.
Before
because it's the
Phantom
annihilation
Menace.
of the Sith. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think I will feel differently about it when I see High Republic on screen. I'll want to read the books more, because that's what happened with Thrawn for me. Oh, the reason I love Thrawn so much, and the reason I went out of my way to read the books, was because I spent so much time liking him in Rebels. So... But yeah, so let's get into this other piece of news.
Yes.
So I think it's Tom Henderson. I could be wrong. But anyway, this guy is a really reputable source in the gaming industry. He's always leaking stuff, and it's 9 times out of 10 it's true.
Yeah.
He leaked that Lucasfilm Games is planning on releasing a new Star Wars game every 6 months, starting with Jedi Survivor.
I think it's a very lofty goal and idea, but I just can't imagine what's coming after Jedi. You know what I mean? Just truthfully, yes, if it's a 6-month period, you have that entire
Right.
time to advertise for the game. And I feel like a lot of companies choose that 6-month period. So maybe after Jedi Survivor comes out, we'll see another trailer or another leak. But in my opinion, I'm just a little bit skeptical because typically when a project comes out, you get some sort of idea that it's being made in advance.
Right.
Whereas we know Eclipse is happening, but not for years, you know?
Right,
And we
right.
only know of Jedi Survivor in Respawn's first-person shooter, and then or they were doing the open world, but then there's an open world and a first-person shooter. No, Bethesda is doing the open world. There we go.
A Mandalorian open world game. Which Ubisoft is doing.
Yes.
There's the Eclipse game. There's the FPS game.
Yes.
And then I feel like there's a fourth. Star Wars Hunters is coming out. What they're doing is they're planning on doing every 6 months. So they'll do a big like AAA title, like massive game that's on console, PC, crossplay, all that, and then they'll do a smaller game that comes out, like a mobile game or something that's a lot like Squadrons. It's a lot more niche.
That makes more sense.
But I'm cautiously optimistic, I'll put it.
Yeah, that's what I agree with as well.
And I think that the reason I feel that way is because that'll be cool and all, rush out a bunch of games, but I don't want them to be rushed. I don't want them to be awful.
Did you ever finish Lego Star Wars?
Never played it.
You never even played it?
No.
I never finished it. I'm like literally halfway through and I just never did it. But I mean, to come off Lego Star Wars to go to these other games would certainly be nice, but like, I guess we'll have to see how that works out.
Yeah. For me, I am the most excited for the first-person shooter game from Respawn. That's the one that for me is like the one that I want to see the most. And I'm hoping that it ends up being the bigger title and not the small niche title for that year.
Mm-hmm.
Because we need a new shooter. As much as I love Battlefront 2, I want a multiplayer game that I can play with my friends that's just pick up and play. That's what's nice about Battlefront 2, and that's why it's always my game of choice, because I can just pick it up, pick a game mode, and start playing. It doesn't have to be like Jedi Fallen Order, where I have to set aside like an hour or two to sit down and actually invest and play the game, because quite frankly, I'm just too busy nowadays to sit down for hours on end and invest my attention into something that's not just I can chat with my friends and like plug and play type thing.
No, exactly. And especially if it's a single player game like that, I really don't enjoy socializing with people because I want to focus on the game and be immersed in it.
Yeah, right.
Rather than have that being taken away.
Yeah. And I know that Jedi Survivor is going to be great. I'm going to have to find a way to set aside time to play that. But we still have a lot of time before that game comes out.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I'm excited, again, cautiously optimistic for more Star Wars games. Hoping that they're not all flops. I know that the niche ones are probably not all going to pique my interest. Like, Squadrons never piqued my interest. It was a struggle to even get through the single player mode on that one.
That was awful. I've only ever regretted buying 2 games and pre-ordering 2 games, and that's one of them.
What's the other one?
Sword Art Online.
That was a game?
It was based off the Gun Gale arc and whatnot, but I'm not even joking when it took like 3 to 4 hours just to do the tutorial, and then after that it was super confusing. It was definitely marketed towards an audience in Japan who's used to the style of game that it was and the way that it was, because it didn't make sense in English almost at all any of the time, nor the controls made sense. Like, I literally never even got past like the first like real mission or level.
Jeez, dude.
Because it was just unbearable to play. And then it came out and then immediately dropped in value for how much you could trade it back in at GameStop, so there's no point. So it's probably sitting over with the games over there somewhere. But I wish I never bought that game.
Have you ever played the Attack on Titan mode on Roblox?
No. I know that's pretty good though. Roblox do be making good mods.
Roblox is kind of stepping up their game. But yeah, so all right, Jackson, now that we talked about all our little stupid stuff, let's talk about the big thing, the big kahuna of the week. Andor, episode 5. The name of this particular episode escapes me, but yes.
The axe doesn't forget.
The axe doesn't forget, indeed. But yes.
I really liked that idea that they were proposing and whatnot, that because they said at the beginning of the episode that like the tree remembers but the axe forgets and whatnot.
Yeah.
You know, the Empire is going to consistently destroy all these people and then forget about them and whatnot. But the people who have been destroyed and hurt aren't going to forget the hurt that the Empire has caused them. So I was like, that's really clever.
I liked this episode. Was it my favorite
good.
of everything we've gotten so far? No. I think the third episode still takes the cake for my favorite.
Yeah.
And that's because it had the most action in it. Naturally, you're going to like the one with the most action. But I think that this next episode is what we would call the mid-season finale. I think this next one's going to be very, very action-packed.
I agree.
We are at the mission now. We are at the Aldani mission.
It's about to go down.
Something I was really happy about that this episode did, though, was it gave all the characters that we just met more depth. I understand their motivations. I understand their backgrounds. I understand what drives them. I think it's cool that every character has a different reason for fighting against the Empire.
Yeah.
I wouldn't yet call it the rebellion. I would call it just a group of people fighting against the Empire.
So yeah, that was the point that I was going to bring up as well, is that like, although a lot of people complain that like the whole episode was just talking and blah, 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 like it gave realism and purpose to the characters that are there. It didn't throw Cassian in the mix of a bunch of randos that as soon as they're probably all the majority going to die on this mission. I'm just going to call it right here. Most of them probably will not live, but it's going to give weight to their death and the decisions that they make, because now you understand why they think the way they do. And I think that's great. Like, in a lot of the Star Wars stuff that we've received recently, you know, they have to pace the story along. So you have to meet a character real quick and then move on from it. And they might die or they might live. And you don't really get to care that much or feel like it was, oh my gosh, her name is escaping. Wasn't like Trala? What was the girl's name from Kenobi?
Well, I'm thinking of like Roken and all those rebels.
Okay, yeah.
Tala.
Tala.
Yes.
Like Tala. Tala was very briefly introduced. So although we got a little bit of her ideals and whatnot, it was still a little bit emotional when she died, and it had a bit more reasoning. But now with these characters, they're based and they're grounded. So we know that like if something happens, we'll care about it.
I think that's one thing that I dig at Obi-Wan Kenobi for is that Obi-Wan just gets, exactly like you said, thrust into this group of characters. We're just expected to care about them. I never did. And then when I rewatch the show, I do less and less. I care nothing for any of those characters.
Yeah, you're just like, get to Vader and Kenobi.
Yeah, right. And
unfortunately,
it was because you didn't have enough time in the show to actually give these characters enough depth. Whereas in this show, you have a whole episode dedicated to giving all these characters depth. And that is something that I really appreciated.
Yeah.
I like Nemec is quite a wannabe political speaker, I've figured out.
He was certainly interesting, and I thought a lot of the stuff that he said as well was like very thought-provoking too. Which again, it didn't throw in this random dude who's like a dreamer and whatnot and has all this random bullcrap to spew. Like, he had a purpose in what he was saying, a reason to fight the Empire and a reason to believe what he did.
Yes.
Which gave it value.
It gives it something more
He'll
than...
die. I'm calling it.
He
will die.
He's goner.
He's a
goner.
not.
Yeah. I
He
think
will not
everybody is a goner. I think Cassian will be the only one to live.
Considering the Cassian is the only figure we're getting from Aldani, minus the leader girl for
Vel.
the TVC, Vel.
Vel Sartha. Speaking of Vel.
Okay.
So I have a theory about her. So early in the episode, I forget the healer's name. Her name is Sintra or something like that.
Yeah.
So she,
Siddhartha.
Is his name Keen, the one guy that pulls the necklace off Cassian and puts a knife up to his neck?
It's really hard.
I think his name is Keen.
But I know what you mean.
Well, anyway, so he tells Cassian that Sintra is sharing the sheets with someone, meaning that she's taken.
Yeah.
And Vel is constantly getting like up in arms about Cassian like being near the other girl and like being around. I think that there's a romantic thing going on between
and that would
Vel
explain
and the
why
other chick.
they're also the only two not going to be there as well.
Yes, I think that there's something there, whether it's just Vel having those feelings or it's a mutual thing. I think that is a romance between the two characters, but I think that we'll have to see where that goes. But I don't know about you, but just on my first watch, I picked that up right. Like, think about when they're standing around the campfire and Vel like gets in between them, like all angry, and makes sure that she's the one that passes the flask.
Interesting.
So especially because Cassian definitely was flirting with the healer too.
Yeah.
In the beginning.
A little bit.
But
You're a healer.
No. But yeah, no, I think that that was something that I picked up on, and if you agree, let us know if that's something that you picked up on.
That's
as
interesting.
Well. But yeah,
Knife Guy has tattoos marking the basically that he's been a slave his entire life to all these organizations.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I can't tell you what they are because I tried looking them up before. Some of the stuff was okay. I think the one is supposed to mean a crate dragon. The one is a barcode for him being a prisoner somewhere. I just didn't really pick up on the dialogue too well on that part, so sorry, folks.
Yeah.
But I thought it was tattoos in Star Wars. I thought it was really cool. And we've seen it before with certain characters being branded and whatnot as prisoners, so it makes sense. Or the clones getting tattoos at least. But I think those are the only other beings we've seen get tattoos. Clones get it freely. These people have it because they're property.
Yes. Does it feel almost too real to you at times, this show?
That was one of the points I was going to make.
Too earthly?
Like, I don't think it's too earthly, but I feel like it's the most realistic Star Wars has ever been.
Yeah.
That it's like, it isn't like a hopeful fantasy, like think about Kenobi or The Mandalorian, where like everything's going to be okay in the end because it's a happy story. But I feel like this isn't meant to be the happy story. Like what I was harking to last week about this being the most realistic Star Wars show to ever come out, this episode now, in my opinion, fully grounds that because there's the real character development, there's a real struggle. Nothing progresses how the people want it to, and there's arguing and genuine like feelings and whatnot. Where I feel like a lot of this other Star Wars shows and properties haven't really touched just because they're not meant to be that way, you know? So I feel like in getting a taste of realistic Star Wars, I want more. I would be really intrigued to see other shows take this sort of direction when appropriate, though.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want The Mandalorian to turn out this way. I feel like that would ruin The Mandalorian.
No, The Mandalorian Season 3 is going to be darker, but I hope it's not realism that Andor has.
But the realism really needs to stay in Andor, in my opinion, and any other designated properties that need that. I feel like it isn't something that needs to be forced to the rest of the genre, or else it won't be interesting. And that'll completely break what Star Wars is, in my opinion.
Right. I agree. I think that it's unique about Andor, and I think that I really have to, tip the hat to the writing team of this show that really drive home the realism of these characters, and they're all human. They don't have these Luke Skywalker traits, and I think that's something that's turning some people off to this show. For some people, Star Wars is Jedi and Sith. For some people, Star Wars is the mystical aspect of the Force, and we completely lack that in that show. And I like it. I think it's needed and it's different. And this was something that I kind of was hoping The Mandalorian would be when it first came out. So I'm happy now that Andor is doing this aspect of Star Wars, the grittiness, the realism. I think that it's awesome that... Here's my other theory.
Okay.
I think that Luthen... Because Luthen has already told Cassian that he went out of his way to find him.
Yes.
I think that Luthen sent Cassian to go on this mission because he thinks Cassian's the only one that can make sure it gets pulled off.
See, that was another thing I was going to say as well. I think it's almost comical in a sense that Cassian is slowly revealing that he's the only one that actually knows everything about the Empire and how to work it, just because Val and her group of people are only just working with what they have, and they've never done anything like this before. And that's so incredibly obvious, because when Cassian's questioning them about like the weight of the shuttle and whatnot and like the gears and stuff, they're like, how do you do that? And he's like, you don't know this? Like, this is your plan.
They actually didn't know how to get the train out of the hangar.
Exactly. They would have died if it weren't for Cassian, probably, and we'll probably see that in the next episode. They'll probably make dumb mistakes and die.
I can't believe that. And I think that, yes, they will make mistakes and die, and I think Cassian will be the only one that gets... Because when we see Cassian in Rogue One 5 years after this point, he's a captain. That's no small feat in the rebellion to be a captain. And for covert missions as well, I think that this is going to be a big deal for him.
Yeah.
These people, it's one thing to have the tenacity and the passion behind what you're doing. It's another thing to actually be equipped and trained to be able to execute the thing you're so passionate about. And I think that's something that this show really brings to light.
Yeah.
These people, yes, they have the right motivations to fight the Empire, but they do not have the
They don't
practicality or the
know.
training to fight the
Yeah.
Empire.
Like when they're marching, Cassian is the only one that looks like he knows how to naturally march. Everyone's like overdoing it, almost like a Chinese PLA parade. You know what I mean? Where they're doing their goofy little marches, acting like they're a superpower.
Or-
but that's neither here nor there.
And I think you'll appreciate too that Cassian calls out. Well, he's holding his blaster with his left hand. It should be facing out.
Exactly.
You
It
know?
needs to be facing the other way and whatnot. And I feel like they've studied Imperial protocol only from what this like officer person can tell them to begin with, which is very much not enough, or even the manuals he smuggled out simply isn't enough to teach these people how to act like the Empire, like how Cassian knows. So that's why I'm saying again that like Cassian will probably completely carry the mission and carry the idea. I feel like something will screw up in the beginning and he'll say something and then become the leader of the group. And then that leader guy's going to get pretty pissed about it as well, that he's not like in charge now and whatnot. But I feel like that's how it's going to have to go for the mission to survive.
There's the one guy. I'm gonna excuse me. I'm gonna call him the second in command.
Mm-hmm.
I think his name's like Tienin or something like that. Do you know what I'm talking about?
What does he look like again?
He's the one black guy who's with Vel when they're talking about the train to Cassian and the hut.
I thought he was the one in charge to begin with.
No,
Oh, no.
Vel's
He's in charge of the mission that him and Cassian are going on.
Yes.
For this portion. That's what I was talking about. Okay, yeah.
His name's like Tienin or something.
I forget.
I keep forgetting the names.
It's hard to remember the
It's hard
names.
to, but I want him to live the most because he seems
Really?
like the one that's the
I
most.
don't.
He seems like the one that actually should be the leader of the group.
I sort of agree with that, but he also just annoys me. Just because
Really?
he's kind of like with Val and he doesn't really have a clue of what he's doing. And I mean, like, I get it. They've been planning this for a month. Cassian shows up and he's completely like changing everything that they're doing because he knows how to do it and they don't. And I feel like he's a little bit in a way getting a power trip over that just because he wants to be in charge of it and not have this new guy tell him what to do. But Cassian's gonna have to save him or he's gonna die or something like that. I don't know.
Right. I think I was surprised that again, I should have seen it like looking back. Like Cassian was so like weird about, oh, don't touch my stuff or don't touch me, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So touchy. And then when he reveals that he's actually a mercenary, that was a big deal, you know?
Yeah, because they're like, oh, you're not fighting this for the same cause that we are because we all hate the Empire. And he's like, nope, I want money. I'm getting paid for this. I mean, y'all can like do whatever, but like I'm scoring a bag.
And that's the thing is like it was a really good way.
A bag's a bag.
It was a really good way for Cassian to prove that he's not going to be a turncoat.
Yeah.
Because he's the one like, you guys have no choice. I'm the only one that can walk away from this and it doesn't mean anything for me.
Oh, exactly.
You know, like so for
Although it does in a way because
It
he
does.
hates the Empire.
yeah, but like he's the guy that's like, I just don't get paid. That's the only thing. That's the only consequence I have here. So like, you guys can choose to trust me or not, but you know, whatever. It surprised me though when Kian took the necklace. I was like, dang, like that. I was not. He knew the necklace was there
because he saw it when Cassian was sleeping or something.
he searched through his bags.
Yeah.
But yeah, a character we also need to talk about is that lieutenant.
Mm-hmm.
The lieutenant who actually, I thought he was a rebel in disguise. I didn't
That's what I
realize he
thought,
was
too.
actually the commanding officer of the
that whole
Aldhani
base.
garrison.
Yeah, that is a bit weird. But I mean, from at least the dialogue that he had with the mechanics and below, Aldhani is like one of the scrap posts that they just throw Imperials to who don't get good positions, which you see in the Thrawn books and everything
Well,
else.
you also heard his backstory, right?
Yeah, that he tried he fell in love with one of the village people and then lost a promotion because of it.
And she died
Yeah.
because of it. So yeah, that shows me his motivations, which is why people in the Empire now, you know,
resent the Empire, even though they're in it.
Yeah. And I really liked that we built his character up because he's the one we've seen the least of. And actually, I take it back. I don't want Tienan to live the most. I want this guy to live the most now. Because I really like his character. And I think that he's just a guy who was... A lot of the guys in the Empire, they're a good person and on the wrong side.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like this lieutenant, he's good at heart. And he, again, like, you know, he's going against the Empire while being a part of the Empire. That's no small feat, especially at this point in the timeline. This is very, very uncommon to be against the Empire when you're in the Empire.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you know, hats off to him, kudos to him for for being so strong in his ways, you know. That's some Captain Rex type stuff to be on, you know.
We had a lot of other good development too with the other characters. If you want to get into that,
Do you want to talk about the ISB lady, or do you want to talk about Cyril first?
I was going to talk about Mon Mothma real quick because she's.
Oh, I completely forgot about Mon Mothma. Oh my god!
I feel like her husband and her daughter are definitely catching on that she's a part of something bigger, because I feel like that was kind of like the overall dinner table discussion, and even just like the part in the dude's cabin, he was like, "So this new charity." So that makes sense how she's funding the rebellion that she's a part of and whatnot, is that she has this charity, but it's just a sham so she can like cipher the money through that and whatnot, and then give it to the guy who owns the antique shop and all that as well.
Luthen.
So I feel like he's catching on to that, and then I feel like in a way her family's going to be wrecked just because they're all Imperial sympathizers and they're all jerks, to be quite frank.
Well, her daughter grew up in the Empire.
Exactly.
Evidently, her husband is a huge Imperial supporter.
Exactly.
And their marriage is awful, you know, and, you know.
Mothma, you need someone? Shoot.
Aha.
Stop by the podcast. Aha.
But.
Drop the Addy. Aha.
Jackson's got shades on today, for those of you who can't watch the podcast.
That is true. For you audio listeners, I'm wearing my very nice shades today.
Jesus. Someone stop this guy. Someone send this guy home.
I am home.
Oh, that's true. I guess I'll leave.
Those facts.
But yeah, I do agree with you. I think that her husband particularly is on to her, and he knows that she's doing something secretive, and the daughter is just, again, on the dad's side.
Just a jerk, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree. So I guess we'll have to see, because in the grand scheme of everything falling apart but coming together next episode, I feel like all 3 or 4 character arcs that we're seeing with different people are going to change. Something's going to happen with Cassian, something's going to happen with Mon Mothma, something's going to happen with the ISB chick, and something's going to happen with Cyril.
This is going to be the episode where everything comes to a boiling point.
Yes.
Because it's halfway through the season. This is the climax of the first half of the show.
Yeah.
And I'm very excited to see what happens. Now, we do also have to talk about the ISB
I was
agent,
just going to suggest that next.
Which I think will tie directly into Cyril's story.
Mm-hmm.
So the ISB agent, we don't see a lot of her in this episode, but we do get a nice little scene where we see that the other agent who kind of cockblocked her in a way with the Ferrex thing, we see that like he's back on Coruscant. He's got it all figured out, and he's handed the mission off to one of his like subordinates.
Yes.
And now we see that she's still digging. She's trying to figure out how to make it make sense. And I know you can talk more about this with your intel.
Sure.
Actually, since Jacob's not here, let me do it for him. Okay. We're good.
Thank you. But no, I thought that... I'll hit on this really quick, but the dude who got back to Coruscant and whatnot went back to the planet of the first episode that we saw Cassian on, Pharynx, to establish like that base and whatnot. So that, in my opinion, solidifies the fact that we'll see Pharynx again. We'll see these characters we saw in episodes 1 through 3.
There are shots in the trailer that have a bunch of Imperial Army members with riot shields and stuff on Pharynx. We will definitely go back there at some point.
We will. So that'll be exciting. But I mean...
He's sipping right now. Give the man a break.
Sorry, I had to sip the wah. No.
The wah.
I took it to Poland, too.
Shut up, dude. Oh my god.
Not gonna go now. So yeah, no, essentially what this the ISB girl ends up doing is trying to find patterns and reasoning into all of this. Just because in the grand scheme of intelligence, that's what you need to do. You need to find patterns and things that align. And like what the one guy was saying, it's so random that it's too random to be random to begin with.
Yep.
Just because, as we talked about in our previous episodes,
You good, bro?
Yeah. Oh no, there was like dried blood on my hand. I thought that was like recent.
Oh.
So I thought I was going to start like bleeding all over the set. That's good.
This dude's tripping right now.
Sorry, I'm tripping off the walk. No. No, but it's all about finding the patterns, essentially. And even for the Empire being so completely ignorant that they don't want to believe that somebody could even be infiltrating them or stealing from them to begin with, she's doing those very basic steps of what the intelligence process could be. You know, you identify what could potentially be a problem, but in thinking that you have this idea or theory, you also have to be able to disprove it. So like the biggest example that we are always consistently given in our classes is how it was a complete failure that George Bush thought that Iran had weapons of mass destruction. The intel community went into it 100% saying they have weapons of mass destruction. How do they get them? Where do they have them? And so that's why it was a complete failure, because they had no weapons to begin with, and it was only brought up a few times by very certain intelligence members that was a thing to begin with. So while this lady is consistently trying to find, how all of these random incidents are somehow connected to a bigger rebellion to begin with, all these people are completely dismissing everything she has to say. They're like, couldn't even be like, without a shadow of a doubt, like even true and whatnot. So that really reminds me of those lessons I learned in class and whatnot, but I feel like she'll find a way to connect it all together, and I guess we'll see how it's connected. I thought it was interesting that some certain places as well were listed like Jakku, just because we don't see that obviously until the sequels, and we know that's where one of the final battles of the Empire happens.
Yes, they did mention a bunch more planets today too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that was a nice little Easter egg as well. But I'm really interested to see where the ISB lady goes and putting it all together and figuring things out.
I think she's going to go to Cyril, who is conveniently also on Coruscant. We get to see, I think Cyril's Italian. I'm going to say he is space Italian because his mother is so Italian. Her tendencies, everything about her.
Gotta make it about you.
She constantly making the backhanded comments at her son. She's constantly giving him food. My man eating the Trix cereal while he's...
And now Star Wars has a recipe to eat cereal bars. And I went, you can't be serious.
My man is having the Captain Crunch berries only cereal.
In Star Wars we have Captain Crunch. We have Instant Cup noodles in Star Wars. What next? It's pretty funny, though. I really like all that.
Yeah, dude. It was fun. And the blue milk.
Sulking over his blue milk cereal with just looking at it. I'm like, you could eat it. You could eat it.
So, who is this connection, then, that the mother has? I think it's someone in the Empire.
It's
someone powerful.
Be. Because I feel like in the trailer that we saw of what looks like cereal... Frick! He's got me saying it. Frick. Of Cyril in the Senate. That's a tongue twister. Try saying that 3 times.
Cyril eating cereal when he goes to the Senate.
Try saying that 3 times fast. Tell us in the comments.
While he sulks at the Senate. Cyril eating cereal while he sulks at the Senate. Say that 10 times fast.
Not going to even attempt it. So, I feel like he will eventually become a part of the Empire in some way. Just because, in my opinion at least, at the beginning, it seemed like maybe he would have gained a little bit of sympathy for what the rebellion could have been. But now I feel like it's resentment. So now he wants to join the Empire because his other job was crappy and he needs something better to do. Maybe he'll work as a double agent in the future. But
no, I think he's all the way Empire.
All the way Empire.
He is all the way
Okay,
there.
okay.
He is obsessed with finding Cassian.
That is true.
You have to think
he's
about
looking
that.
at him. He's
and
like,
when he figures out that Cassian didn't act alone, I think he's going to find out Cassian is with an organized cause. I think that's going to be what pushes him over the edge.
he might spill it to the Empire and they'll recruit him from there.
Well, I think the ISB agent's going to come looking for him.
That is true.
And we also see him in his bedroom, and we now know that Cyril collects hot toys in Star Wars.
You can now be a nerd in the Star Wars universe and collect clone figures.
Be a dorky
in
loser.
The Star Wars universe. Who would have ever thought that? That is so unbelievably hilarious.
My man had what I believe to be 12-inch scale clone trooper action figures or statues or whatever, gentle giant statues. And
I was sitting on the couch and I went, there is no way that is... But it was like the iconic... It's the iconic clone poses we get in almost every marketing shot or every photo. It's the classic... This is why I argued the one was a Phase 1, because a lot of Phase 1s
do. He's getting up to do it. He's acting.
It was the classic this pose. And for our audio listeners, I'm just demonstrating standing with legs spread apart and just holding essentially the longer blaster rifle. Or it's always the crouching shot.
The crouching one. It's
always those
It's
two.
a longer blaster, and there were no. It didn't look like an alien of any kind. I think it was clone troopers.
It looked 100% like a clone, and it makes sense because the Empire hasn't been around that long. Probably
it's been 15 years now.
Never mind, it's been 15 years, so maybe they got their toys maybe on the market yet, or they're still working on it.
Or
maybe Star Wars Hasbro is working to try to get these out as quickly as
Hasbro and-
possible. But with the shipping delays because of the Empire and recent shipments to Scarif, it could take a little while.
Anyways. Yeah, so your pre-orders are going to be delayed on your
Nerds.
Clone Trooper 20th anniversary of the Fall of the Republic figures. Yeah. I think that it would make sense. I mean, the Clone Troopers were enacted for at least the first couple years of the Empire's reign, so
I agree.
they were phased out after a while, but
And if Amiga even gets a little toy of a trooper and whatnot, then it's very obvious that people make toys of this to begin with. And it would make sense for Coruscant 2 being like such a big powerhouse that it is anyway, that people like will, for lack of better words, do anything for the Empire.
they will. Cyril is a perfect example of someone that probably will be
Yup.
willing to do anything for the Empire.
Probably.
But yeah, I mean, I'm stoked for the next episode.
Oh, yeah.
You know, when we sat down, we had already talked. I didn't think there was going to be much to discuss.
I thought it would be a little bit shorter as well, to be honest. But
And
I mean, I feel
now
like
here
covered a
we
good
are.
amount.
We actually, this was like a 30-minute discussion just on this.
That's nice.
So, I mean, I think,
That's all I had for
I
the
know I said
episode.
last week that I thought this episode was going to be like the mission itself.
Yeah.
I'm glad we had the time with the characters.
I
Again,
agree.
I'm really
'Cause
happy
now it'll
we
be
did.
more meaningful. It'll have a purpose to it.
Yes. And I'm very, very excited for next week's
Oh,
episode.
yeah. That's going to be the big one. I'm literally... Oh, and next week is going to be perfect as well because that's when we have fall break. So that's our last day of class.
Let's go.
Let's freaking
Yeah,
go.
baby.
Woo!
But yeah, dude.
That's gonna be
so
hype.
let us know if you are watching on YouTube. Let us know in the comments what you thought of this episode. Are you in? Are you out? We have some younger fans in our community that have expressed on the Discord. They're not really buying into Andor. You know, we have
No.
people. I know people that are really into the mystical aspect of Star Wars that are really turned off by this lack of Jedi and Sith and
I
the
agree.
Force. But I'm all in. Every episode.
100% I'm in.
Every
I'm, like,
episode
here
leaves
for
me.
it.
Yeah. Every
We're
episode.
not shills. It's just genuinely good content in my opinion.
I sometimes shill, but I will say this is really different and unique, and this is needed.
Did I shill for Reva? Maybe. However.
But anyways, as Jackson says, at any rate.
At any rate.
Do we have any closing comments, Jackson, before I take us out?
Nope, unless you want me to do the outro.
Would you like to do the outro?
I'll do the outro since Jacob says I can't do any of the talking. If you enjoyed the episode that you just saw today, please remember to like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. Please sure to join our Discord as well, as we have many great discussions, as we talked about at the beginning of this video. We also do have a Patreon where you can financially support us if you choose. There's no bonus content or anything that's being locked for this. You get stuff a day early and access to a special Discord channel, and that's it. And the discounts on our merch when we do that sometimes. However, other than that, be sure that if you're going to listen to us through your beautiful headphones, AirPods, or discounted earbuds that you bought from China, check us out on Spotify, Apple Music, and anywhere else that podcasts are offered. Thank you so much for watching this week. We're so excited to talk about more Andor next week and any additional Star Wars news and bullcrap that happens. Have a good rest of your day, week, night.
Goodbye, everybody!
Goodbye!
Woo!